And the Supervisor Richard Forster with your report from our meeting of February 25th, 2013, and that is our Board of Supervisors meeting for Amador County. First up, we had under public comment Skip Schaffel and Virginia Manor came in to speak about the Amador Commission on Aging. Skip Schaffel is the chairman of that, Virginia member, and a longtime volunteer as well as worker with ATCA. But Skip indicated there are 33% of our population in Amador County is over 60 and about 40% over 55. So we are one of the highest counties in the state with a population of senior citizens, elder statespersons, and we're kind of proud of that. But if you want to help out with senior services in Amador County, you can always go to the Senior Center. They're in need of help there. You can apply to be a member on the Commission on Aging. As Skip pointed out, every district in the county has membership and has seats available, and he had an application for me for District 2 yesterday, so I think that might bring us up to being full. He also indicated there are available from the Commission on Aging a Senior Resources Guide and a Volunteer Guide, so you can always access those and help out with senior issues in our county. There's a lot of ways to help and a lot of people that need help out there. Going into our meeting, first item up, and I'm going to spend some time on this, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, John Hoffman, our consultant on natural resources for the county, put together a very comprehensive letter covering the economic analysis and the proposed listing of critical habitat for the yellow-legged frog, and this is actually the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog. It covers about 11 counties, and what U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has done is come in and said, we're just going to designate a huge amount of area as critical habitat for the yellow-legged frog. Just the wrong way to do it, and in the letter put together by a consultant, it points out the various deficiencies and flaws in the methodology used by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. One is that our own agency within the state, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, does a phenomenal job of protecting the species. They know how to do it. They look at the data that's out there. One of those data suggests, and doesn't just suggest, it's proven, that the man-made reservoirs are not good areas for critical habitat because the frogs do not like the man-made reservoirs and the sloping of them and all that. So within the designated 109,000 acres in Amador County, you have the Bear River Reservoir and Silver Lake, two man-made reservoirs, and they're prime examples of areas that do not meet the basic criteria. So, and just to reinforce that, California Department of Fish and Wildlife still stocks fish in those ponds, which are a natural predator, yellow-legged frogs. So the indication there is they don't believe that these are natural places for the frog to try and survive and thrive. And that is the point. Most of the historical factors that cause a reduction in the frog population have already been taken into account. What the Fish and Wildlife indicates is present-day factors are really controlled by laws and agency regulations already. So what they're pointing out is they've made the case themselves. There's already sufficient reason to and sufficient means to try and help the frog out there without declaring all of this critical habitat and declaring that these species are really endangered by man-made reasons. But here's a couple of the agencies, a couple of the acts and sources that are out there to protect this frog: the Wilderness Act, the Federal Power Act, the Clean Water Act, the State Endangered Species Act, the California Forest Practices Act, the Sierra Nevada Forest Plan Amendment, and the Hatchery and Stocking Program, EIR and EIS. What this tends to tell you is that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is just kowtowing to environmental groups that continually pelt them with applications for endangered species, and it's just the wrong way to go. You don't roll over every time these groups come in and threaten you with lawsuits. I mean, sometimes you got to get back in their face. In this case, there are two things that are hurting the frog and the frog's ability to make it in society. And you know, not all species are going to make it. Some species do go extinct, but in this case, they have indicated the fish introductions appear to be the only activity that has adversely modified yellow-legged frog habitat to the threat of the species. So that is the one threat, and they are eliminating fish from most of the lakes where the critical habitat is found to be the case, not the case in things like our Bear River or Silver Lake. The other thing that's hurting the frog population is the BD disease, which is a concern, and they really don't know how to control it, but that's not a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service case. That is for biological and disease control agencies out there. So we have written a letter. We're addressing this. You know, what this will probably come down to, as it does in most, is filing a lawsuit to stop this nonsense from happening. But we'll keep you informed on that. The board did cover Quimby fee payment at Molly Joyce Park. Supervisor Novelli agreed to have his Quimby Act monies, about $8,900, I believe, $9,600 utilized for that. There's about $2,000 left. That'll come out of discretionary funds from Supervisor Boitano and Supervisor Oneto. Actually, the board did cover a hazardous materials emergency response plan and approve that. This has to come back through our certified unified program agency. That's in association with our environmental health department, and the board approved that. And the board also talked at length about the limited density owner belt rural dwellings ordinance that's proposed. There are some changes in there. CAL FIRE has basically signed off on it and said they agree with the changes that were made, adding in protections and rules and regulations that CAL FIRE has. Environmental health also had language inserted. The hearing was continued because of some other changes that were made. That'll come back in March. And that's all I have. 223-6470 if you want to talk to me or any other supervisor. And the Supervisor Richard Forster will talk to you in a couple weeks.
Check out our new website upgrade.